So we've all dealt with fear many times in our life before. We've all had challenges, we all have ups and downs, but there's some really simple understandings around the mentality of how we talk to ourselves about fear that enables us to actually overcome, lead and move forward in a much quicker and cleaner fashion. And we're going to investigate that right now. Okay, so that little intro hopefully didn't give too much away in regards to what we need to best do when we're actually facing fear. Now, let's be completely honest about it. We all have different levels of fear, different levels of anxiety. Sometimes it can be quite confronting with some of the avenues and decisions that we need to make in our professional career, in the business world of what we're doing in health and medical. But it doesn't have to be that way all the time. And the way in which we actually react in those situations is actually going to put us in either the right path or maybe a more bumpy and challenging path as we move through and deal with that fear and anxiety. Now, we do have a fairly significant challenge in and around the health pandemic in the world at the moment. So if we're to talk about that specifically, we know that people go into a spiral. And I was chatting with a great friend of mine, Rhonda Britton in America, in Los Angeles only a couple of days ago. And she runs Fear Limitless and Limitless Fear. And she's been on Oprah numerous times, 4 published books. She's an Emmy Award winner. She's absolutely amazing lady. And she will tell you about her story. In fact, you can probably just go and grab the podcast that I've done with her only recently in regards to how her life was changed in regards to her father pulling a gun, shooting her mother twice in front of her, and ultimately killing her mother, and also then turning the gun on himself. Amazing story, an amazing woman. But here's the thing. When you think about fear, it has so many different contexts. The fear of having a gun pulled on you is like, or watching your mother then get shot twice and ultimately die, is just literally the most freaking out type of fear you could possibly have. So when we bring that back into the context and probably more so the perspective of decisions that we make in our business, in our health and medical businesses, what we're going to do with team, what we're going to do with this new marketing campaign. Do we need to start this new process? Do we need to stop this new process? Oh my gosh, it's going to do this, it might do that, and we start to spiral. The first thing we need to understand is we need to stop and take a breath and actually understand, let's put things into perspective, okay? We've got that world health pandemic at the moment, and so many people spiraled. So many people, and this is how I got onto Rhonda a few moments ago, Rhonda says it's not about being negative, but it's about giving into the fear and allowing yourself to spiral about avenues that primarily are not going to exist. All right, you're not going to, the chance of you dying from in the world health pandemic we have at the moment is exceptionally small. The chance that it's going to cripple you financially, make you go bankrupt, lose everything you've got around family and friends is exceptionally minimal. Yet we allow ourselves, or some people do, to spiral out of control and start to be, and I'm not going to use the word negative, but start to be a lot more hysteria-based, a lot more fear-mongering. We allow too many social inputs, such as your social media and your mainstream media. Everyone becomes the epidemiology expert, the Karens of Facebook, or and not to say anything against Karen or anyone called Karen, but it's that whole avenue that all of a sudden people, have all these Chinese whispers. They report all of this stuff that they've researched from a whole lot of unreliable sources. And before you know it, everyone around you starts in that spiral. So what we need to stop and think about first of all, when we get to a challenging situation where we're faced with fear, we're faced with that unknown, is actually just step back and take a breath, first of all. Because once we step back and we take a breath, we start to actually understand, hang on a sec, let's put this in perspective. Is the fear of what's actually tormenting me right now, all right, is that actually real? Because there's something that I always talk about here that's really pertinent and it's amazingly powerful. And that's the fact that perception is reality. Now, in this situation, if you give in to fear and you don't stop and you don't take a breath and actually ask yourself, is this actually real? Is this actually going to happen? What's the chance that this is going to happen? What you actually enable your brain to do is to start putting those perceptions, which ultimately are not real, okay? And we can challenge this all we want, but we can't actually ignore it and we can't deny it because it's been proven with neuroscience that this is exactly how the brain operates. So we get ourselves into a situation where we ultimately are allowing made up thoughts, our perceptions of our brain that don't actually exist, that aren't actually real, all right? And if they are real, it's at such a minute level that it's not actually consequential. It's not actually even a major avenue of what's going to happen, all right? I'm going to totally avoid the words that I can't even talk out of my mouth at the moment. And so here's the thing. When you first step back and you realize that, oh, hang on, I'm a bit unsure of this. I'm scared of making that decision. Oh, something's in front of me. It's a big speed bump. Oh, it's a big decision. And we start to, heighten our tone and we start to talk fast and we start to get all worried and I just don't know if I'm over. You just need to stop. You need to actually stop and have a breath and actually realize the vast majority of the rubbish that's going on between your ears right now is actually not going to exist. It's not real. And it's a made up fabrication and perception of your brain of how it perceives things to occur. And it very, very rarely happens like that. And again, we know this from the neuroscience of how the brain synapses work, but the challenge is that perception is reality. So the brain perceives it as a distinct reality of what could occur, and as a net result, you allow yourself to give into that made up fear and actually start to spiral. And when you spiral, you actually have a major negative influence and heightened influence of fear and hysteria and anxiety for all the people around you. So that's how it occurs with the health pandemic at the moment. But if you relate that back to all of the decisions in your business, what it does is that you actually start to give into that fear. You start actually creating that negative spiral occurring, and as a net result, you actually will partake your behaviors, your comments, your tonality, the way in which you approach the people around you in a completely fearful, negative connotation and behavioral pattern. So what you are doing is you're actually allowing the fear to take over. You're actually giving into that fear. And if you're a health business or medical business owner right now and you're listening or watching to this, I'm pretty sure that you're very empathetic, you're really compassionate, you got into this industry because you want to be able to help people, which is amazing. But we have such an amazing skill set as allied health professionals, medical professionals, aesthetic owners, that we should be actually better than that. We've got to be able to take a good look at this ourselves in this situation and realize I need to step up. I need to control what I can control. And one of the first things you can control right now are the small little habits and tangible items such as your mindset. And if you can understand right now that we know that neuroscience has taught us that when we get into a fearful situation about our business, or we're not sure about whether we're making the right decision, and we get anxious about this could happen, that could happen, what we're actually doing is allowing our brain to make up a lot of unrealistic, scenarios that aren't real, that are almost certainly not going to happen, but we're allowing our brain to have those perceptions, to perceive those perceptions as real, and therefore we get more heightened response to more fear, more hysteria, more anxiety. And of course, it's at different levels based on the context and the person and the situation. So here's the thing. The first thing you need to be able to do when you're faced with that is you need to actually be able to stop. You need to disconnect from the world. Now, it might only be for 1 or 2 minutes. It might be just get off Facebook for a few minutes because you're surfing it at the time and reading everything from all the reliable Karen, experts out there, right? And if you're Karen and listening to this, I'm not talking directly to you. I just picked a name before, okay? So here's the thing. We need to make sure that first and foremost, when you're in a court in a difficult situation and you feel anxious, you're feeling like you're fearful of making that decision or not making that decision or what's going to happen next, you need to just stop. You need to take a breath and you need to take hold of the fact that you are in control. You can control these things and it's up to you to make that happen. If you go out there and start spreading the fear and throwing all the baby out with the bathwater and you've got to, sack your team, you've got to get rid of this, you've got to do that, it's just showing a weakness in yourself that you've given into the fear. You've given into the actual perceptions from the brain that aren't actually going to occur. So guys, be stronger than that, okay? We're health professionals, medical professionals. We need to lead from the front. So guys, take a breath, stop and think about the scenario and just adjust the 1 or 2 controllable items that you can control right at that point so that you can make better judgment decisions moving forward, knowing that the vast majority of the fear and the anxiety that's floating around in your head at that time is actually misconceived perceptions that aren't true, they aren't real, but they were made up by the brain, perceived to be real, and they allow you to spiral out of control. We have to take control back. We have to understand that, call it for what it is at the time, make those little habit changes, take control of the little small avenues of control that we can so that we can actually start to control the controllables and move forward step by step. And it is actually as simple as that. Take back that small amount of control so that we're not allowing our brain and those misguided misrepresentations of falsifying what's not going to happen anyway control us, spiral, and influence loads more people in a negative way. There you go, guys. That's all it is. Take a breath. Get on top of your own fears. Understand what it is. Take control of the small controllables and step forward from there. And when you do this on small aspects and large aspects, you're going to be in control. You're going to be able to direction yourself a lot better and a lot smarter. You're going to have a lot more control over who you are, what your team does, what your business does, the community, etc. And as a net result, you're going to be a lot happier, a lot healthier, and you're going to be able to take a lot more control over everything that happens in and around you and your life. I'll talk to you again very soon. Hey guys, thank you very much for listening to another episode of the Profitable Practice Podcast. I would love nothing more than for you to be able to leave a review. I get so much joy out of listening and reading the amazing things that you guys say about this. So please subscribe to our channel, leave a review, and share it with your friends. Let's get some more fantastic information out there so all of us can grow the industry together. Cheers for now.